mills past the stacks. On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
Welcome to a special small screen streaming episode of season 3 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies from our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Wolfman Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
You bastard, I was going to do that. What up, yo?
Eddie.
I do hope my attendance delights you.
And Brandon.
Well, I was just going to woo, so that was me. Woo.
That was nice.
Eddie, go ahead.
Before we dive into season 4 of our podcast with a new format and many more of our favorite films, we're going to bring you a new release as we finish out 2022. Come January, the hosts will be diving in a new selection of hand-cultivated films well suited for our audience.
As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question. How many drinks does it take to get through the film, or in this case, a special we've just watched? Now, at the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie or series based on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being the perfect film that you can watch it stone cold sober, and 5 being the sort of film that makes you want to be shot by your own hand, bow, and arrow device like the fool you are.
Or what movie do we have coming out of the darkness?
Time out. Or actually get fucked up by Man Thing and shit. I mean, that was pretty fucking crazy.
I was thinking about the electrical tentacles, but I thought there's nothing more humiliating than getting shot with an arrow from your own device attached to your own hand that was severed mere moments before. I mean, I think
that's pretty embarrassing.
Well, I mean, literally, and then you see it right through his mouth. I mean, it was a perfect shot.
It
did good.
Was just right.
Well, can we talk about what movie we're doing tonight?
There's a lot of mouthful shit.
Brandon, what movie do we have coming out of the darkness
hurry up,
this evening?
Take forever, bro.
Well, tonight we have 2022's Marvel Halloween special, Werewolf by Night. On a dark and somber night, a secret cabal of monster hunters emerge from the shadows and gather at the foreboding Bloodstone Temple following the death of their leader. In a strange and macabre memorial to the leader's life, the attendees are thrust into a mysterious and deadly competition for a powerful relic, a hunt that will ultimately bring them face to face with a dangerous monster. Inspired by horror films of the 1930s and 40s, the chilling special aims to evoke a sense of dread and macabre, with plenty of suspense and scares along the way as we explore a new corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The special stars a virtually unknown cast except for Gael García Bernal, who is fucking amazing, and represents Michael, as Sean would say, Giacchino's directorial debut. And by the way, I just want to go ahead and take a second and say that summary right there was about as long as the actual movie was. So
can I ask you a question though? Why did you change the word? Why did you change the word "but for" and put your own spin on that? "But for" is a very good. For is a very good turn of phrase that is actually.
Like Brandon's.
Fuck you, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, he's that's a writer right there. He's like, why are you changing my shit? That's my fucking words right there. Why are you changing my shit?
Let me just tell
you didn't improve upon it. It's actually
you copied and pasted it well.
No.
What was that? What was that word? Macabre. You kept saying macabre.
Macabre.
Yeah.
Is that a real word?
Yeah.
It's a really good word. Yeah.
Hey, listeners,
definition of origin,
listeners, every time you hear that word macabre, take a drink.
I'm going to go ahead and say this to start us off. Okay, hold on. I want to say this. Why did we have the Eternals, She-Hulk, Multiverse of Madness, pick any movie since No Way Home or series or anything since No Way Home? They should have eliminated all of that and just had 10 episodes of this show, because this was, I think, a triumph of Marvel cinema. I really do. I think this was fantastic.
I feel like this was one of the best things I've seen from Phase 4. It was just, I couldn't believe right off the bat. I mean, the way it brought it out with like the whole monster, vibe and the whole universal horror vibe. Michael Giacchino, he's a fucking force to be reckoned with. I mean this in a way because he's like one of the greatest composers out there. This was a great, great debut.
I will agree with that. Yes, I will agree with that.
Oh shit! I thought you were going to be an anti.
No. Okay, no. Well, I'm anti some of what you guys have said, but we'll get into it. Listen, I was not expecting this to. No, shut up, Ed. I was not expecting this to be a Marvel. Yeah. So when all of a sudden I got the Marvel show up, I said, "Fuck them! They did it to me again. They got me to watch another fucking Marvel thing, and they tricked me into it." And that being said, I do have some serious, not even reservations, just frustrations, but. Michael Giacchino is a goddamn you said it, force to be reckoned with after seeing his direction. And I got to be honest, I was putting this movie and the direction of this movie under a microscope because I wanted to see how, a composer, which you don't really hear composers turning into directors. You don't hear Hans Zimmer. You got to be like, oh, I'm going to direct the new Jurassic Park. But what you get is some genius classic cinema. That's what I thought. So yes to Giacchino, not so much to Marvel and what they end up turning this into.
So, Brandon, I love everything you said. Yes to Giacchino. Is that his name? Michael Giacchino?
Really know. Cappuccino? I don't know. I think you actually got it right there.
This is his first movie?
This is the first. So he's a composer. He composed Lost, Star Trek, half the MCU,
Star Wars.
He's brilliant.
Star Wars,
the new Star Wars. But he never did Rogue One. He did Rogue One. He never did any directing. So this is his directorial debut.
So I had no idea that this was Marvel Universe until I saw Marvel Universe. I was just like, oh. Yeah. This is in the same universe. Like I at first I was like, oh, we're just gonna watch a werewolf movie, okay. And I was like, oh shit, this is supposedly in the same time frame of this in a weird way. So that was interesting. It blew my mind a little bit. I don't follow this part of the Marvel universe with the comics, so I stopped a little bit while back. So this was interesting.
I was reading about what was the whole point of this, and I think it's supposed to be introducing kind of the Avengers of the underground world with it's called the Midnight Suns, and it actually has to be featuring Bloodstone and Ghost Rider and Man-Thing and even Blade. But if this is where if MCU is going and going to this direction, I'm fucking for it, man, because this is probably one of the best things I've seen from MCU. The vibe I got when I watched Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time, the excitement, holy shit, what am I watching here? This is fucking great. What do you guys think?
Brandon?
So I think that I'm speaking for all of our listeners who are not Marvel fanatics like you guys are. So I do it's a 2-part question. So if you guys could help fill me in briefly. One's a question, one's more of just a background. So what was the TV show with Oscar Isaacs? It was Moon Knight. Moon Knight, yeah. Okay, Moon Knight. Okay, yes, Moon Knight. Do you think, is this going to tie into that? Because that was more of a supernatural thing, wasn't it? He was a mummy?
He's supposed to be part of the Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at Phase 4 generally, Brandon, Phase 4 has been focused on a lot of more magic versus the stones, the Infinity Stone saga, right? So you've got Wanda's magic, you've got the Sorcerer Supreme's magic, you've got the spell from No Way Home that almost brought people through the multiverse. You've got the multiverse itself and America Chavez going through the multiverse with some sort of magic. And now you have the Bloodstone magic, which looks eerily like the magic from Wanda from her, her fingers. What you also have coming up is Agatha Harkness, which is a spinoff of the WandaVision television show, where they bring in more of the occult, more of the magic elements of the MCU. So I do think that this movie or this show, this special, is kind of opening a wider door in a way that a lot of the movies introduced Infinity Stones. This is reaffirming that magic is part of the MCU and that it's going to be its own little pocket within the MCU.
Okay, so then that leads my second question. And this is, I guess, more of maybe it's more just knowledge, but is, the Avengers, are they going to be wrapped up in the same magical monster storyline? So it's just going to be separate?
I do not believe so. Okay. I think this is like what Jeremy said earlier. I think this is going to be street level, underground. This is going to be I love the idea of a cabal monster hunters out there, because then you can bring in this whole concept of them chasing Blade, them chasing
Ghost Rider.
Ghost
I
Rider.
like Ghost Rider.
You
Yeah.
can have them even chasing Moon Knight, because all of these characters deal with more fundamental Earth-based
Darkness
problems, and not like this magical, magical is the wrong word, but outer space stuff, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's no outwardly threat. They're dealing with on-world threats.
Okay.
So let me
Which I
talk
think
about
the Avengers are more,
Out there,
saving
yeah.
the Earth.
Mhm.
So
Universe.
I want to talk about the just the way how this movie started off, and it's a very short film. I didn't expect it to be this short, by the way.
Right.
But the opening sequence didn't even remind you of that, like a Vincent Price vibe, like like the house on the haunted hill or something like that. And it was just a great setup of it just got to the chase. It didn't fuck around.
See,
it just got to exactly what you need to know and everything.
So Brandon, stop. So bro, 100%. Like I was thinking the same thing. Like the vibes of this movie, for the beginning, the vibe of the movie was truly amazing. Something I haven't seen in a while. It got all the old thrills of a Dracula, Frankenstein. Just like something that I feel like it was like, ooh, like this is, and it was very dark. Like I was like, this is Disney? Like it made me surprised. I was like, ooh, Disney's going a little darker right now. I wasn't expecting that. Brandon, what do you think?
So I was watching this, and in the first 3 minutes, I was about to text you guys and be like, Sean, you're probably like drooling over this, because this is Agatha Christie all over the place, right? Where they're, people who are, don't know each other are invited in. So yes, I got the, the classic Universal monster feel, which obviously we're supposed to get. But for me, it was that Agatha Christie mystery that I really loved. And that's actually one of my frustrations.
That's what I loved about it. It was, these 12 people are in a room, and you don't know what these 12 people are doing, and they're brought here for a secret purpose, and we're going to unfold that purpose as we come, as we expand our way through the story. And not only that, is you're going to get the intricacies of every character. I wish that we had another maybe 15 or 20 minutes of this movie, because I would have really liked to know a little bit more about all the fighters in the let's call it the Metrodome of monsters.
Yeah.
I would have really liked to know kind of the history. Like they said, the guy had 30 kills, 23 kills, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I think that I would like to know a little bit more. I would like to a little bit know more about the Cabal before the Cabal, passed on from the original Bloodstone owner. That kind of stuff to me is super intriguing. And once again, this story sets up, like, I want to know more about the universe. I want to know more about what they just showed me.
That was the downfall of that, because I was just like, I was lost a little bit. It was like, okay, did I miss a movie? Like, it made me think, like, where am I jumping on the universe of this? I was like, what's the Cabal? 30 kills, 25 kills. Who's these monsters on the shelf? Like, they all look pretty badass. I was like, Monster Squad, and like it was a weird little Game of Thrones, more like the Hunger Games, but it was weird. It was like they go hunting for monsters, and I liked the idea of this. And I was wondering exactly what Sean was saying. It's like, well, like, who are all the killers? I want everyone to introduce themselves.
Yeah, they didn't even tell us what they were doing. They said, "Okay, so you go first. Go."
Oh, and that's something I really liked.
Exactly. I think it was fucking great how they did that, dude.
Yeah.
I love, and I have to say this, spoiler alerts, obviously, because we're going to spoil this episode, this show, but I really loved, first of all, Gael Garcia, what's his name?
Gael García Bernal.
Gael García Bernal, I think I've seen him now in like 4 or 5 things. I think he's a magnificent actor. And
Jack Russell.
I really love his makeup. It was subtle. It was the little white streaks on his face. It brought out something about his character that I thought were just phenomenal. And then to have the twist that he is a monster hunting monster, not really hunting monsters, but trying to protect his friend Ted. I think that whole concept was absolutely magnificent.
I got 2 things here, guys. One, normally you would see that part right there and you'd be like, oh, get the fuck out of here. You guys are best friends. But I love their friendship. I believe their friendship. There was just like, oh my God. Like you've known each other. The adventures of Jack and Ted, Theodore. I mean, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, and it was done so well. And Man-Thing looks so fucking amazing. The second thing I want to talk about. Okay, so that whole thing where like, the guy that was buried and they did the whole kind of like, where the guy does the whole introduction like, hi, here's, I think, is it not a cool way to fucking like go out and just like, be buried like
did it
that?
work or did it not? Did it work? Did it work?
So
Clearly, me and Jeremy think it's the best thing in the world, but with you guys are a little more skeptical.
Come on, guys. I will be rotting for you. I mean, I laughed my ass off when I heard that.
I feel like this is one of those movies that, it happened so fast. I have to rewatch it. Like, there's so many little things. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was watching, and I was like, this was like, it was funny, and I caught the joke like 5 minutes later, and I was just like, oh, we're diving right into it's his turn. Okay, he's up now. Like, I feel like listeners, if they watch this movie, just be a heads up for me personally. You might be a little lost, but just roll with it. Like, I think it worked, but I was not ready for it.
It's a fun roller coaster when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea what you're going into, it's fun.
It's like you don't know if it's a comedy or if it's sorry, Brian, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it thrusts you right in there. And a minute ago you were talking about you wanted a little bit more backstory and you wanted a little bit more setup. And I actually really appreciated the fact that we didn't have the setup. I thought that storytelling wise, just jumping us in there, especially with the fact that it's a 56-minute runtime or whatever it is, it really works. I think that it hits the ground running. It makes us feel this mystery, like it creates a mystery, even though it already was the mystery. But then the cinematography, and I think Jeremy is the only one that probably would appreciate this movie. But Sin City, did you get a Sin City vibe of the cinematography? I just felt Sin City all the way through, which is another movie to me that is style over content, which is good to an extent for me.
So have you seen the OG Dracula or the OG horror the horror movies?
Right.
I mean, this was
captures it
very much. It was Maltese Falcon, which I think is Sin City, same concept, but it's this grimy underworld that nobody knows about that's being revealed. I think that's what you're feeling for sure.
But it's the little other things that you like, the cigarette burns on the edge of the screen where you have that vibe where it's pops. Like you're watching an old film.
Yeah.
But I'll go to the end of it. The werewolf transformation, right? It's one of the best transformations I see because it's actually using old Hollywood trick, right? You don't see the CGI bullshit, whatnot. You're seeing the shadow from the strobe light of what the horror is happening. And it was fucking great, yo. I mean, I was so excited. I'm like, I'm loving this. The whole the last 30 minutes of this film, I was eating it. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking great, guys.
I agree. Brandon, I know you're really big on character development. You don't feel like you didn't lack any bit of that a little bit? So with like what's the female in the show? Like
she was
Jack
great.
Russell's friend.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, I wanted more of her. I don't know. I have no idea why is she like kicking ass and like where does she come from?
That girl can do.
She was his daughter.
Jumps.
She was the Bloodstone daughter.
Yeah.
So she was the guy who died at the very beginning, the leader of the Bloodstone cult. I don't know, whatever cabal. It was his daughter. So she had forewent her training.
Yeah, and she fucking didn't need training because she was jumping around like a motherfucker.
Lisa,
and God damn it, yeah. So
Elsa.
I loved her character. So you're talking about character development, and it wasn't so much character development. I'll tell you what pissed me off about this movie, and it happened about 30 minutes in. Is that it set it up beautifully, this mystery, this beautiful homage to old cinema, to classic horror cinema. And then it says, ooh, we're going to take the tone and we're going to make it this lighthearted, jokey thing between Ted and Jack. And I'm like, oh, we ruined it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been friends, but these kind of corny, bad jokes. I know that you guys appreciate it because you love Marvel and this is what Marvel does. I wanted not something brooding. I didn't want Universal, but what I did want is I wanted something that was a little bit more consistent. Like the ending, like when they're sitting there at the campfire, to me, that was terrible. It was terrible.
Amazing. Oh, it was amazing.
So bad.
That was great. That was great. No, see, I love that. I'm going to say this. I
loved how you went from like, I think it was 20 minutes almost to the dot until that hand went on Jack's shoulder out of the bush, right? Yeah. And for 20 fucking minutes, I'm like on the edge of my seat, not knowing what's going on. Oh my God, there's a monster. And then the look on his face, I'm like, he knows this motherfucker. And then all of a sudden, like you have this lighthearted, funny, like, okay, I'm going to get you out of here, buddy. This is not a death and murder movie. This is it's like friendship
movie,
escape
rescue.
movie.
Yeah.
But then the movie goes 100% the other way and goes into right back into suspense when Jack gets captured and he's in the thing and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's 5 days to the full moon. Oh, fuck, the bloodstone can change you. And so like all of a sudden it's just like, oh shit. Like, and then you had the anticipation of him becoming the Wolfman, which I will say 100% of the time, this is the most disappointing part of the movie. When the creature or when the man becomes a creature or when the woman becomes a creature. In this one, I'm with Jeremy. It was flawless transformation.
Yeah.
I loved how they did it with the strobe light. I love how you didn't get a full view of him. You still really didn't get a full view of him at all.
No, he didn't.
Brandon, we talked off mic last week, and you said that Wolfman, the Universal horror movies, is one of your favorite ones out of all the bunch. Didn't you get the vibe that it had that Lou was the guy, Lou Chaney, the new Chance guy?
Lon Chaney.
Lon Chaney. Okay. Didn't you get the kind of vibe of like how the werewolf was designed like that?
The
great.
The design was
it
beautiful.
looked exactly,
Yeah, design was flawless. Design was beautiful.
I love I love the relationship between Ted and what's her name, Elsa. You know, it was like, hey, we both come from cursed families in a lot of ways when you think about it. They both have these things that they're trying to figure out and actually get to that next step, saving his friend, saving her legacy and everything like that. But I love the fact that they were able to actually have this little connection here, but they didn't go over crazy. They didn't dramatically, do anything crazy, go above and beyond on that. It felt right.
They didn't marvel it.
I agree with that. They didn't.
Yeah, no, I think, Jared, I took from that too, is that they didn't try to force a love story on us. I'm so happy that they didn't do that. This relationship was just like, it's mutual. Hey, I'm going to help you get the bloodstone, and you're going to help you get out, and everybody's happy at the end. And I really did appreciate that because I thought, great. Now, of course, if they make a sequel, which they're going to make a sequel, there's going to be some kind of love relationship.
I hope so.
I don't think they need to, man.
They don't need to.
And I'll tell you this much. You said that you had like this Sin City vibe.
Mm-hmm.
This whole part, the last part, I thought I had a Kill Bill vibe when they actually do black and white and it was just like fucking mayhem, blood and everything like that.
Yes.
And I thought it was a great choice to keep this thing black and white because this thing, for a Disney Plus, the Disney series, this was fucking bloody.
The one scene, the one shot where you got the blood dripping down the camera and it obscures everything on the lower half of that lens.
Dude,
it was perfectly done.
How perfect, guys, was that shot where the camera was zooming into the hallway and it was just mayhem in that hallway and the door was closing in the background, right?
Yeah, and the little sparkler, the sparkler was going off, the little like the pokey pole that electrocuted him was just going off. And dude, I'm telling you, the cinematography, but the cinematography was, I could see why Michael, whatever we want to call his last name, why he chose to do this type of film, because it's all about music. You could look at the particular scene and you could see him like going, okay, I see a jump scare here and here's what I want it to look like from this perspective. I want the music to swell and do this and that, because the music was really subtle and very old feeling. It was wonderful.
Yes.
So also Disney, being black and white, I think that allowed Disney to you don't see blood, but you get the idea of blood, right? Because a lot of black and white, it covers it up a lot. And that brings down the ratings if you don't actually see the blood. I like also, I mean, we talked about the Underworld, but this does open up Blade. Everyone knows Blade's coming. Are we going to remake Blade? They were talking about, I read a lot with this guy. There has been push with, Blade. He toyed around with the idea of Blade doing a cameo. I'm happy he didn't, but part 2, I could see it happening.
Well, and Blade is going to be played wonderfully by the the
guy from True Detective.
Ali.
Yeah.
Well, he's wonderful.
Yeah.
He's like one of the greatest actors, I mean, of the generation. He's fantastic. I'm really, but what I just read is that they're actually Mahershala. Excuse me.
Mahershala. Okay. Yeah.
We've stopped production of that movie as a response to this special, and they're redoing. They're spending more time and redoing the movie.
Well, didn't they lose the director actually too?
They lost the director. I bet you money Michael Giacchino steps into that.
Oh, dude,
I hope so.
He needs to go and do more things. I'm fucking excited for this guy. I'm just gonna say, when you see an actor and he's like good looking and he can sing, you got one of the best composers out there. I mean, he fucking did Up, one of the best like scores of all time, I think.
Yeah.
And this guy has a natural talent. You saw it there in 55 minutes, 58 minutes. It's fucking great.
Yep.
One of the things that I do love about the story, but I really didn't much care for in the film. So I thought the story of having all these people going after the monster was really cool, but I felt cheated that I didn't get to see these wonderful hunters really hunt.
Yes.
I felt like they were a little obtuse, and they attacked each other versus. Right? Well, you got the girl in white.
The girl in white.
Oh yeah, I guess we get her. I was thinking the arrow guy, and we got Burly Man. Right, those are the two that I kind of stand out.
Yeah, and
this guy.
Yeah, but we kind of lost all of them. I mean, all these great hunters are now dead, and we didn't really get to see them in their prime or do anything. And it kind of, I think that part suffered because of the runtime. I think like I said, another 15 minutes, maybe we could have seen a little bit more of that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if the movie would have been helped by it. I just think I would have liked to see it because I'm selfish and I want to see him,
Yeah.
Maybe a director's cut or something like that. Well, but honestly, I didn't think that hurt the movie at all. In fact, it's just like, helped the whatever, movie. With them.
But I understand what you're saying.
Marvel did something really cool when they were building the Infinity Saga, and they did a one shot where it was just like a 15-minute offshoot of the Mandarin or Agent Carter, or they did a bunch of different ones. And I think that I would like Michael to do a little 15-minute one shot on, the Bloodstone family or. Whatever it is, just like that it would serve it well. Another 15 minutes of just story. I think people would eat it up. I really do.
Yeah.
Was there anything afterwards? There was that's the Marvel. Was there anything after that?
I waited.
This movie ended.
I waited.
Yeah. I didn't even wait. I mean, think about that.
Well, what you saw in the end was kind of like the whole Wizard of Oz, going from black and white to Technicolor, and it kind of has like this whole thing where it's like, the past is from the 1930s, and somehow it does it really well where the future is now in color, which it goes into like the 1970s in a way, because that's when like the first introduction of it. So I think it shows like it's going to another direction of what the story is going to take place and what it's going to actually bring into the MCU.
Oh, Jared, that pissed me off so much when we turned to color. I didn't want that, and so I literally I have a note about how that was the most disappointing part.
Come
that pissed me off. It pissed me off.
The best part. It's the tip to the head to the 1930s. Come on.
By the way, I think that, trust me, my score is not going to be as bad as you guys think it's going to be, but that's because to me, this was on the path to a 0.16 for Jared. This was on the way for that first 20 minutes for beautiful scoring. I loved it, but man, it fell off. It was
And I loved how the Bloodstone was all red.
Yes, I did love that.
Yes. I mean, God,
that was cool.
Brandon, how can you miss the red? The Bloodstone was red.
Oh, I love it.
And the thought of like Wizard of Oz, the red slippers and everything like that. Come on,
I just didn't want to see it. I just didn't want to see it.
Perfect, yo.
Yeah,
you just didn't want to see it. Okay,
I just didn't want to see it.
That brings us to the end of our review. Now it's time on the podcast where each of the hosts provides a score on the following scale. Eddie, can you provide the scale, please?
Yes, I can. 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a filled your first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're going to Uber or lifting home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. Or 5, blackout, shit face, spring break drunk. Gentlemen, let's start with Brandon.
Okay, so I do appreciate you starting with me. Thanks, Ed. So yeah, I'm hard on this one because I saw the promise to me, and I'm talking about like this stood out in the first 15 20 minutes as a movie that I couldn't blink because I didn't want to lose the split millisecond of watching this film. I loved the cinematography. I loved the nods to the classic horror films or just films in general. Like you were talking about the hard-boiled detective, Maltese Falcon. Absolutely everything about classic cinema. Mike G captured it so beautifully. The shots, the direction was beautiful. Gael García Bernal, he is to me, he's an actor that I love. I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite movies ever. It does not belong in the happy-go-lucky watching, but it's Amores Perros, which is a Spanish film. It's a Mexican film that is to me one of the highlights of just cinema in general. He's great. When I saw that he was in it, I was excited. When I saw what this was kind of throwing us into, I loved it. And then we got this buddy comedy that to me took away what I was excited about. I can get over the buddy comedy, but what I can't get over is that last 3 minutes, Jared. I know you're going to hate me for it, but I loved everything. I could deal with other things, right? Sean, you were talking about how we jump back into the fighting. And, as the doors slowly closing, that to me is cinema masterpiece. This could have been a near zero. But for me, and you guys talked me down a little bit, so I appreciate that. I'm going to give this a 1.75. Okay. I think that it was better than an average. It could have been literally in that point something stage. So, Jared, I'm going to throw it over to you.
I said earlier in this episode that this is probably the best thing that I've seen on Phase 4 for MCU, but I have to say this is probably one of the best things I've seen from Marvel since Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's the surprise of it that I was not expecting what I was coming into and what I got out of watching this. I mean, the design, the production, the effects, the cinematography. I mean, it was seriously one of the best things I've seen all year, and I just loved it. Michael Giacchino or Giacchino or whatever your name is, dude, you are a fucking legend. Like, wherever you go, like, people should just buy you drinks for the rest of your life because you are a fucking, like, just a rock star, yo. I love this fucking movie. I can watch it anytime. I know it's short, and that's just going to give it, like, a little deduction with my score. That's just me being selfish and shit, but this is seriously, yo, I'm going to give this a 0.75. I love this thing so much. Listeners, if you get a chance, watch it because it is one of the best things that I've seen from Marvel, but it's such a great thing for Halloween time where you can watch it every year and just have a good time with it.
That's a good review.
Eddie, I'm going to go to you, bro.
I was not expecting anything coming into this movie, and it definitely blew me away with everything about the movie. It was very short than I wanted to, but I also liked it at the same time. It was just like a nice little entry level of the next phases. And it brought open I didn't think Marvel to do this. I didn't like the path that they're going down with this other phase. So this made me hope for, like, okay, there's another side to Marvel that I'm really hopeful. And it's a dirty shadow in the streets. Like, there's monsters, demons, vampires, werewolves. Like, that was cool. I never thought about that. Like, I never understood that that Blade was somehow in the same universe as Iron Man. Who invited all the monsters, hunters? That was my thing. Like, did he know there was a werewolf there outside of the Ted? Like, possibly. And that makes me think, because you just bring only one monster. And I feel like that's the whole game of monster hunters. So, I don't know. It makes me think he was hinting that he was going to die by a werewolf, and then he died by a werewolf. So I need to go back. I also it makes me want to dive into the comics a little bit with this. And it feels like I've missed a whole part of the Marvel universe, that I need to catch up on. I really think this is way above average of a average movie. Too short, but it was also a lot of it I enjoyed. The black and white, I didn't have an issue at the very end with the color. Michael G., you're amazing. I will watch the next movie that you make. I'm going to piggyback off of Brandon's score with a 1.75. I think that's a good score for this movie. That's where I'm going to go. I'm almost at 2 drinks, but right below it. Sean?
Yeah, so I think I think my nostalgia and my love of old movies is going to cloud my score. Because to me, this is as near perfect of a reproduction of that era of film as you're going to get. I'm going to give it a 0.5, but I'm going to explain why. Number one, I think the story was absolutely flawless. It was short. It was to the point. It was, like it or not like it. There was not much fat on it. Very lean story. Number two is I thought the special effects did not overwhelm, as they can do in a Marvel movie, overwhelm that story. Number three, the use of practical effects, especially with the wolf transformation, I think was the best since Lon Chaney. I mean, if you look at what they've tried to do, Benicio del Toro tried to do a werewolf movie, I think called Wolfman with Anthony Hopkins. Mm-hmm. Even Harry Potter had a bad transformation of a wolf. A Wolfman.
American Werewolf in London was probably the last one I remember that was really good.
Yeah, and that was good because it was revolutionary, but it still wasn't by today's standard. This was just perfect. It was just perfect. The cinematography, the fighting, the closing door scene alone is to me one of the most iconic scenes you can get. The lighting of the show, the acting, everything about it was wonderful. Everything about it just hit all the sweet notes for me and none of the sour. I really searched for something to complain about. And the truth is, give me this. Give me only this. Give me this 10 times. I'll watch this for the next 25 years. Give me 5 more episodes of Frankenstein and Blade and Wool. Just give me this universe. I want this universe. So for me, it's a 0.5.
Nice.
Eddie, when you take those scores, combine them by 4. Combine all the scores and divide by 4. What does Werewolf by Night get an average rating of?
It gives us an average rating of 1.1875.
1.1875 seems like a pretty damn good score. Jeremiah, where does that put us on the movies?
Probably
movies
right about where it should be, right?
Yeah.
Dumb.
Yeah.
It actually ties with one of our favorites, actually, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Same score, actually.
So good. And bad. And
yeah,
ugly.
so I think
It
it's
was
a good
also
spot.
so ugly.
That's so ugly.
Think about it. It's tied with Good, Bad, and the Ugly. What's better than it? Well, what's better? It's better than Alien. It's better than American Graffiti. It's better than Inglourious Basterds, Psycho, Silence of the Lambs. So it has a good thing there.
No, it's not better than
How
Silence
much
of the
better
Lambs.
than Psycho?
It's not better
What's
than
higher than it?
Jaws is higher than this. Breakfast Club, Shining, Gladiator, Home Alone. I mean,
Okay.
Spider-Man: No Way Home.
It's where it should
I'm
be.
going to say I know it's a 58-minute entry, but it really does pack a really wonderful punch. So I think, of course, it's where it should be because it is where it should be, Brandon. All of us chose where it should be, and we divided by 4, and that's where it deserves to be. So if you enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask that you please subscribe wherever you're listening and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. You can also find us on Instagram at @the.gentleman podcast. The dot means a lot. You can visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com, or if you want to reach out, you can do so at hosts with an S, HOSTS at thegentlemanpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. And we will be bringing you some more content as 2022 closes. 2022. And then we will be revving up with season 4 in hopefully the first few months of 2023. Eddie.
Was Brian Cox in this movie? I missed it.
No, but cinematographically, this movie was beautiful.
Listeners, get ready for a little spooktacular season that we're going to be doing a couple of scary movies going forward. So, we got a lot of things up in the pipe. Doesn't that make sense? We got a lot of things coming up. So it's going to be fun times.
Coming down the pipeline.
Coming down the
pipeline.
Coming up the pipeline would be not what you want to have happen.
Yeah, that's not what you want. Don't fucking listen to me, okay? Fuck.
Clink, clink, cheers,
all right, guys.
Brandon, you think that was one of our best?
I really think that one stood apart from a lot of others. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Definitely better than Halloween. Jesus Christ.
Better than The Ring.
I'll give you that.
I'll go better than both of those.